What kind of actual accounting profit is it making? Okay. So in order to make zero profit, we have to set price at the intersection of the long run average total cost curve and the marginal cost curve, which gives us minimum average total cost. So the long run market supply curve ends up being the horizontal line. Now are you remembering this? Okay, so that's the long run market supply. Okay, so firm begins in long run equilibrium, demand increases, we raise the price, and so we end up creating huge economic profit in that rectangle. This coming back to you. When you see that kind of huge economic profit, what incentive does that provide to other firms? I want me some of that, and so they enter the market, which does what to the market supply or the market graph? It's going to drive supply to the right, which will bring price back down to its long-run price. So in the long run, markets are going to work to achieve equilibrium. Always. Even in omega. Okay. So there are instances when that long-run supply curve might not be perfectly horizontal, when it might go up the hill a little bit. It's horizontal if everyone has identical costs, and if the costs don't change as firms enter or exit the market. If a condition exists where both of those are not happening, then you can see a little bit of a swoop to your supply curve. Yes, sir? Yeah, but, your book gives you a good one, and it's escaping my head right now. I remember asking that same question as I was reading the book and going, I wonder when that happens, and then the book goes, pfft. So you should read the chapter and find that answer, because it's in there, but I can't. Okay. So we started with these two assumptions, right? These were two concrete assumptions for us. And you always are wanting to what if. You fight that urge. So here's your answer to your what if. What if that doesn't happen? Then there you go. In reality, Kavanaugh, how likely is it that all firms actually have identical costs? Rents are different in different parts of the country. State taxes are different in different parts of the country. Still writing. Say what? In a college class, the professor's already 2 slides ahead of this. Okay, if firms have different costs, as the price rises, firms with lower costs are going to get into that market before those with higher costs. If I live in a part of the country where land is expensive and rents are higher, I'm going to wait to enter the market. And somebody who's in West Texas where land is inexpensive is going to go ahead and build their factory and jump into that market before I will in Northern California, where land is at a premium. Okay? So as P continues to go up, now the Northern California firm is going to enter the market because the average total costs have reached a point where they can actually get to zero profit. Okay. When we do that, market supply increases and does what? Drives the price back down and makes it difficult for those higher cost firms to stay in the market. So the supply curve's got to curve upward in order for them to stay. At any price for a marginal firm, price is going to equal their minimum average total cost, and profit has to equal 0. If they're not there, they're not in the business. If their profit is not 0, they're not going to stick. And so the question is, does that hold true for every firm? Absolutely. Well, then what about the lower cost firms? Their profit's above 0. They make more money. Common sense? If you can keep your costs lower, you make more money. Hello, Walmart? Guys, Walmart and Kmart, essentially the same business, right? Who's going down the tubes? Why? They must have higher costs. Walmart has incredible bargaining power, and so they're keeping their profit above 0. Oh yeah, I take my ads. You can do it with smartphones now too. You can show them the ad on your smartphone. Yeah, when they used to not price match, I didn't shop at Walmart because you could get better prices on certain things other places, and now they price match. But the trick is Walmart very often doesn't carry, so let's say No Frills is having a sale. Well, that sale is generally on their store brand. And Walmart says, well, we don't carry that, so we don't have to match it. Now, if it's on Duncan Hines cake mixes, they'll match if they carry those. Okay. What happens when costs are rising as firms enter the market? So, in some industries, the supply of a key input is limited. Let's say I make motherboards. What precious metals are in the motherboard of your computer, phone, tablet, etc.? Silicon, copper, gold, fair amount of gold. What's been happening to gold prices? They've been going up. A new chip maker comes into the market, needs to buy even more gold. Demand for gold has increased. What do we know that does to price of gold? Drives it up, and so we've created this situation, right? The amount of land that's suitable for farming or for ranching or the area of a city that's zoned for industrial uses or the number of locations suitable for building a gas station or a daycare or whatever it is that you do. Some of those resources are going to be fixed. And so as you increase the competition for those resources, the price of those resources is going to go up. Make sense? Gerontologist. Do you guys know what a gerontologist does? Treats old people. A gerontologist is a doctor who deals with old people. Why would I throw gerontologist out? Baby boomers are aging. There's a lot of old people. Anybody driven east on 370 recently? East of 72nd Street on 370. What are they building out there? That big, huge retirement community. Huge retirement community. Okay, so what you've got to look at is that retirement community is entering a market where there's X number of healthcare workers, right? How long does it take to create a registered nurse? 4 years. Registered nurses have a bachelor's degree, and then they also have to pass their boards, and so let's say 5 years. Okay? Can you rapidly increase the supply of RNs? No. So they build a retirement community like that, and they need to staff it. Boom. Right? There's all kinds of fixed resources out there. There are some jobs it takes a lot of time to train for. Do you remember, I think we had a question on a quiz, which market shifts faster, the market for house painters or architects? House painters, because it takes a lot of time to make an architect. That's a 6-year degree. Okay? A house painter, brush, paint, pretty. Right? Okay. Or if you're in a real hurry, paint. Good. All right. So the entry of new firms increases the demand, rising the price. That increases all of the firm's costs. And so we have to increase P to increase the market quantity supplied. So as we get further out on the quantity, the P has to go up, and so the supply curve is upward sloping. Adequately explained? Okay. So in the real world, how often is the market supply curve a straight line? It is the exception rather than the rule. But again, that depends on the market. There are some markets which are so well established and there is virtually no entry and exit from the market, pharmaceuticals, that their supply curves are pretty close to horizontal. Boy, you guys write slow.
I'm writing about 30 miles per hour right now.
Do you make your own PowerPoint?
No, these are book PowerPoints. Now that I've done this once, there are things I've been taking notes as I go along that I'm going to tweak and change. But I didn't want to mess with pseudo-perfection before I'd even had a chance. What would you change?
And you don't have time.
Oh, okay.
The colors.
Some cool pictures, okay. Like of an old person right there? Okay. All right, I can do that. I can do that. Okay. Guys, if you were looking for crib notes for the quiz, you're about to get them, okay? Profit maximization is where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Perfect competition is where price equals marginal revenue. So, at competitive equilibrium, price equals marginal cost. Pausing while you get that down. You should already have it down, but many people are vigorously scritching it into their notebooks now. So I will accommodate. Except for Treston, whose face is glowing unnaturally in the dark. Some glow-in-the-dark lotion. Interesting. Interesting. How is it that Chriselle, even with a white sweatshirt on, his face doesn't glow? Is the brightness turned way down on his screen? Okay. So marginal cost is the cost of producing the marginal unit. What is the marginal unit? Oh, what's the marginal unit? One more. Marginal unit is your plus one. It's the one more. Okay? So when you guys get a little older and you start getting wedding invites and stuff, you'll say things to your friends like, "Yeah, I've got this wedding coming up in a couple of weeks. I don't know who my plus one is going to be." Right? That's who my guest is going to be, because they'll address the letter to Mr. Matthias Ponce and guest. Okay? And he'll say, but if he's studying economics, he'll say, "I don't know who my marginal unit's going to be."
That's so fun.
You can be a true economics geek if you say it that way. Chriselle! So, competitive equilibrium is efficient and maximizes total surplus. And if we were going to get there, we would, okay. If we're ever going to get there, we would be talking about monopolies. For those of you planning on taking the exams, Chapter 15 is a must. Monopolies are going to be all over it. Monopolistic competition, all of that kind of stuff. And it is something that we will cover in review sessions in the spring. For those of you who are not going on into macro, but who are thinking of taking the exam, Nikki, watch the announcements or swing by every once in a while and talk to me and find out when those are going to begin. Or keep following the Twitter, and I'll tweet about them. Okay? So I'll just put all of this up and let you take your pictures or write it down. It's just the summary. It's everything you've already had, just again. Look, Aaron, it's the long form of what you just had on the last slide. You may go grab your book, yes.